Oops, give me a second. And here we are. Good morning, Bulldogs. It is Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. I hope you guys had a wonderful spring break, as wonderful as it can be under these circumstances of being at home. But I hope most importantly everyone's safe and healthy and all those sorts of things. I do want to take a second. A few of you from blocks 4, 6, and 7 reached out with kind messages about Budley. Unfortunately, she did go to doggy heaven on Friday, the first day of break. And so that week leading up to it, it was a little rough. And of course, excuse me, my children during break and still been a little sad. So, but a lot of you were very kind and understanding. And it's sad, but I appreciate your help. And that's why I'm so proud to work where I do with such amazing teachers and students. So let's talk a little bit about what's on the New York Times today. The top story was the president saying he will temporarily halt immigration to the United States, saying it's going to be increasingly hard to get things like green cards and visas. Primarily he said it's to keep our workers safe so that he can reopen the economy. That image from the New York Times there was actually from yesterday's press conference. One of the generals, whose name now eludes me, I have to go check, was speaking at a press conference about how quickly they were able to create hospital-like places, like in the Javits Center, not far from us. But then the president said, well, how is the wall getting built? So he's really trying to merge this immigration with the economy, with the coronavirus. So you can read those pieces if you wish. A big story yesterday was the price of oil. I know I think it was block 6 when we talk about oil prices and stocks a little bit. It actually fell to a negative number, which means you could have actually made money by purchasing it. The president spoke a little bit about that during his press conference as well. The New York Times is reporting that they think there's 26,000 missing deaths globally, that people are dying but not getting accredited to the coronavirus when they should. I haven't read that yet to see their explanations, but, especially biomed people, you may want to take a minute to look at that today. Italy is supposed to ease their lockdown, not ending it completely, but easing the restrictions coming up soon on May 4th. And if you've been watching any of the press updates with Governor Cuomo of New York, he is supposed to meet with the president at the White House today. So I'll probably be reporting on tomorrow about how that happened. And, feel free to try to watch some of that yourself. Today's BBC News, actually their top story was our same top story about the president and halting immigration. Many of their stories were focused on the U.S., which makes sense since we're like where the most cases in the world are here right now. There was an article about the governors calling Trump to call off the lockdown protests to try to not encourage them, but to more discourage them. If you watched yesterday's video, if you do watch them daily, we spoke a little bit about that. This is a photo that was on the BBC website about those protests. An interesting case that there were 6 tourists living in a cave in India because they ran out of money once the lockdown went into place and they couldn't get out, and so they actually rescued them. There were reports that Kim Jong-un of North Korea was gravely ill. South Korea is saying that's rumors and they don't believe it. Also, since we did speak a bit about the death penalty with Beccaria and the Enlightenment and the guillotine and all that, Saudi Arabia executed a record number of people in 2019. So something to keep in mind. All right, so for today, today's plan is we're going to do a journal. Please read on Canvas exactly how to do it. Please make sure you're looking at the directions. We're going to do it via a Flipgrid. If you are not comfortable speaking, you can still type it as usual and then share that. if you do not feel comfortable sharing your face. No one in yesterday's classes did so far, so that's totally acceptable as well. My daughter and she has to do live Google Hangouts in her classes, and she's never showing her face, and that's totally fine, even though you guys all have so much to say, and I can't wait to hear. I do miss our Monday conversations. There is an extra video link if you want to say hi. You do not have to, but you'll see I posted an example there. Also, the contests. Have you been keeping up with them? I've gotten a few emails from students who finished like the National Foreign Service essay, the posters, things like that. The podcasts. Did you finish them up? So many of you have been working on them. So I'm going to post about that soon and make a link to share them and make sure you're uploading them. Okay, so also don't forget about the April project. Please use resources that I provided. In other words, like, look at the directions, look at the examples, fill out the stuff. Early April, I provided examples. So April, all those first days in April, I gave you an example. Make sure you take a look at them to make sure you're doing them correctly, and claim a day before it gets too late. So today's assignment, the journal, should not take you too long. Then our next assignment is going to be one Google form. That's going to be short. And I'm doing that so you have time to do this project. You should not be overwhelmed with things. After that, we're going to be doing some more things related to the Industrial Revolution. So just, keep everything in mind. So today, I had two students write about Charlotte Bronte. Today was her birthday. She was a part of a trio of famous writers, the Bronte sisters. Charlotte, Emily, and Anne. And before we move on, I just wanted to say the Charles Dickens Journal, it is a passage from Hard Times, and we will be reading a little bit about that. So there is a connection. Anyway, I digress. So the Bronte sisters. So a student, Wilkins, found one of her poems that she wrote about on the death of her sister, Anne, and found a way to connect that to the coronavirus. It's a sad poem. It's about the deaths of her sister, and he connected it to the people dying of the coronavirus. But it did a good job. So I wanted to show you an example. So I'll leave you with that. Email me if you have any questions. I'll be, on the computer replying to them as soon as I can today. Otherwise, be well, guys.